Welcome to Grace on Fire. I am Grace. We are bravely creating with wild abandon that which sets our hearts on fire. And we are so blessed. We are so lucky and honored to have Michelle Boykin here, who is a dear, dear friend. She's helped with this fundraiser. We're at the Fairy Tea Party, the One World Fairy Tea Party. We're raising money for children in the Philippines to get to school. $100 will give them their uniform and the lunch fees so that they can do a year of education. And Michelle's been a big player in organizing this, as well as, of course, my daughter's been the rock, and Cindy Spencer as well, and all the volunteers. I acknowledge them. And we are here with Michelle, and we're excited. And I'm going to ask you a few questions.
I heard this with Grace on Fire. I think it's
fire.
going to be
You just
Michelle
go
on
for
fire
it.
right now.
You go, girl. Okay, how can you be an influence for others' well-being, Michelle?
You know, that is a very, very good question. And it's one that I think about quite a bit, how to do that. The desires in the heart, but I find that sometimes I want to do it. I want to do huge, big, momentous type things, monumental type things, when I'm really beginning to realize it's mostly in the little things that I do, or that I can do, that probably will afford me to be able to make my biggest difference. The little things. Because the big thing, I can't figure it out. But maybe the little things. And so finding ways to just find a little teeny input, a teeny little sharing, that might be my only way, or at least the best way for me to focus my attention. All those little things each day that I can do that may touch a life in a way that I may not even be able to imagine. But that's how I would do that.
Absolutely. All the big things are made out of those little things, aren't they? And
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, it's just the simple moments. The moments, like this moment.
Yeah, because, you know, I look at things, you know, like you'll see people doing these big, giant movements, and, you know, and they become so well recognized. And a lot of people, their goal in life is to be famous. And so you think, oh, I'm going to do something that'll make me famous, and I'm going to do such good works that way. But I bet my heart is saying that I bet it's not those things that the world notice, but the things that even I may not even notice that makes the biggest difference. Yeah.
Absolutely, and you're doing that. You truly are. And I want you to talk about your yoga a little bit, but I want to ask this other question. Using your talents, I think this is where you can actually bring in your yoga. I'm an avid customer for about a year. Yeah, I love it. It's so. What can you? How can you use your talents for financial success that will help yourself and others?
Yeah. So maybe you're right. I've been making. I've really fallen in love with microorganisms, and I began to realize these little tiny creatures that make up more of my body than I make up of my body are so significant, so interesting, and such an integral part of my own personal health. And of course, I've been on a journey for health. But in the course of that, I got introduced to these microbiomes in my body. Now, the interesting thing about these little dudes is that they have really given me my first real example of what we mean or what could be meant when we say oneness with God, oneness with all, oneness with the divine. Because these little creatures are all a part of me, but yet they're individuals, but they're one with me. And they need me to take care of them just as much as I need them to take care of me. And so, of course, I found out about different ones that are in our gut that serves us in a way that's greater than just good digestion. They actually can send messages and make chemicals that feed our whole body that will have an influence on our entire nervous system, which has an influence on our entire health, because every nerve is affected to every organ and system of the body. So I started making the yogurt, or yogurt, which is a yogurt type product that's made out of a microorganism called L. reuteri. And I've been selling that to or sharing that with family and friends and so forth. And I love fermentations. I love doing those types of products, and they're just an intricate part of my lifestyle. And I know that they're improving my health physically, mentally, and believe it or not, spiritually. You wonder how that can be, but it's really true. So that I think my ability to make these types of products, I know if I could share those with other people that they could help. And not just sharing the products so people can eat them, but sharing the understanding about why it works, why it's important, how we eat, how we live, how we think. And God has blessed me to have some insight. And I've been able to include that in my lifestyle. So maybe that might be a great way to share it with others and turn it into a financial venture.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm doing the colloidal gold, the colloidal silvers, and the colloidal copper. And so I look like a mad scientist at home. But I'm like having fun. And all of these things I realize help nurture me and can help others too.
Part of your calling. It's truly part of your calling.
You might be true about that.
You go into her house, it's amazing. It's like an apothecary in there. You open it, it's amazing. It's all natural.
Yeah.
Everything. And I think you have more plants than me. I don't know. We have a competition going.
Oh, I don't know. You're a plant mom. I'm a plant mom. I truly am, without a doubt. But I wanted to make a point because we started calling the yogurt that I was making, because it's not a true yogurt, we started calling it like U-Y-O, gut, G-U-T. It's yo gut because it's bacteria that's good for your gut, which our dear friend Alan shared that name for us. And so now we call it the yogurt.
Yep. You've got to get that trademark.
I do, don't I?
You do.
I do.
You do. I've got another question here for you. What may I include in my daily regime to expand your divine consciousness?
Yeah.
Beautiful question.
The thing about that question is the one that you really don't want the answer to, because it means you're going to have to be responsible and be committed to being consistent with something. And it's easy for me, I'm water, I'm flow. I just let it do what it does. But sometimes we need to add structure. Without the structure, we don't have the river. His path is made with the structure, even though it's full with the flow. It does its work in flow, but it does its path with structure. So incorporating more structured time for my meditations, more structured time for even my exercise, being even more conscientious about how I eat, how I speak to people, how I speak to myself, and probably my desire to connect with my higher consciousness. Because all of us, a lot of times we think about, we want to talk to our angels, we want to talk to God, but there's a part of ourself that we don't interact with, that we don't even know how to interact with. And so doing the kinds of things that will help me know myself more will assist me in a regimen. That has to be included in my regimen in order to expand my own higher consciousness. I think that's the best way I can look at that.
I love that. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I want to move on to our conversation aspect of our Grace on Fire. And let's just start right in there on the conversation. So welcome to the conversations. If you haven't already, please check out the highlight on Michelle Boykin and her yogurt. And we're here and having a conversation, and we're just kind of beginning right where we ended off. Michelle was so brilliantly talking about her connecting to her higher consciousness by creating a structure of some sort of a practice, spiritual practice for herself, and really committing to that on a daily basis, and how empowering that is. And then, the golden key, spending some time with ourselves, getting to know ourselves as this divine inner presence, this true eternal self that is going to it's going to still be around when the body goes. When the body's gone, this eternal consciousness is still going to be present and alert and aware for all eternity, and to connect more deeply with that inner self.
Yeah.
And I think I agree. I think that is the ultimate key, and shifting that identity. That flowering of awakening of I'm not just this body and this ego and all this conditioned programming that I have picked up from my culture and my family, because we soak it in.
Yeah.
When our parents say how they, ancestors would just become little robots, and well, I am more than that, and my identity is this eternal divine extension of a divine source.
Absolutely.
And I want to spend some time connecting with that awareness.
Yeah, because on the Temple of Apollo, the signage says "Know thyself," and I think it's really critical to know thyself, but it's really hard for the same reasons you just mentioned with all the programming. You grow up a certain way, we've talked about it, you grow up a certain way, and this is all you've been exposed to. So you just automatically accept that this is all that there is. It's just like if you've never ventured off an island, it's very easy to think that the whole world is just that island, So most of the things that we've embraced really isn't us. And so it takes significant effort to put your energy into getting to know who you are. And if you get some messages and you don't feel good about what you're hearing about who you are, it's probably a programming. It's probably not really who you are. Because when you connect to who you really are, that's when you're connecting to God. That's when you're connected to that divinity, and that is always perfect, and that is always lovable. And but until you do that, you really can't do anything else. How am I supposed to interact with my angels per se? And I don't even know who I am. So if I spend more time on developing that, I think it makes it easier for my angels to be able to direct me and talk, because the noise gets turned down. And my hearing and my intention on hearing. You ever wanted to hear something, you thought you heard something, so you turn everything down and you do this so that you can listen? So when we get rid of those programs, now all of a sudden we can start hearing our angels, because we're responding more clearly through our true self. So, that's kind of how I look at that.
I think that is the key, and like you say, it is one of the hardest.
It is the
because
hardest.
There's a lot of distraction out here. There's a lot. Well, I'm not talking about the party. We love that distraction. I'm talking about, you sit and meditate and dive into this inner divine presence, nectar inside. There's, the to-do list that might jump you out of presence. There's this, ongoing that, there's distractions. We have to also live a physical life. So to balance that, making sure our life works and the teeth are brushed and the dishes are done and the car's got full of gas, and also stay deeply, profoundly, like on the court, in a deep connection with your divine inner self, with it, and knowing there's times where you're just you are gonna you might be in traffic, or there's times you might disconnect a little bit. You can always go back into that space. And that's where you're going to find your highest guidance, and always listening to that intuition, that wisdom body. In yoga, they call it the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And I love that, because in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, it's the gateway to me. It's a powerful kosha. These are the layers, the sheaths of our body. It starts with the physical, the Anandamaya, the Pranamaya, the Manomaya, and then the Vijnanamaya. And in this place of the Vijnanamaya, you're right on the doorway to the Samadhi, the Anandamaya, and then you're into the mind and emotions, and the prana body and the physical body. So you can actually be powerful in all of it. You can be in this state of meditative awareness. You can be in this state of basking in that divine, like really on the court, the awareness inside with yourself. But you can also, get up and do the dishes.
Absolutely, absolutely, and knowing that that's okay, because sometimes people think, well, we're at the fairy tea party, and so we think we're supposed to have our wings on all the time, and sometimes you got to put your feet on the ground and do what you got to do. But so this process of know thyself, getting to know the different aspects of oneself. And then guess what? We said that's hard, to know thyself. Guess what I really think becomes the next really big challenge is one thing to know yourself, is the other thing to be yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
True.
That becomes the huge hurdle.
Yeah. The authentic self, not caring anymore, you know, you don't look good or what someone might think, or sometimes what gets me is responsibility even will take me away from being my authentic self. I want to be a responsible, you know, that's so grained in that sometimes I sell out on my truth. And it's getting more and more aware, getting more and more attuned to that intuition and that wisdom body and that, you know, that most empowered choice, that most empowered state, over and over and over. No, there's times that, you know, life is just gonna, you know, we're tired and hungry, and sometimes it's just, you know, we're just gonna get knocked down and fall into, you know, a lower state, knowing it, you know, it will always pass. The sun always comes out tomorrow.
There it goes.
And knowing, you know, it's about, you know, not giving up, ever, never giving up. You know, there's times with this one world and these events, and so there's times that, I can't tell you how many times I give up. Forget it, no more. Even Asia came over, we were setting up the backyard. I'm like, this is the last one. And she goes, Mom, you know, we'll talk after.
Yeah, there's a concept in Japanese culture called kintsugi. It's an art form where people take broken porcelain and they mend the porcelain back together with gold. And when that piece is mended back, it's actually more beautiful than it was before it was broken. And that sends a message to me that is so powerful, that there's beauty in our brokenness. You know, we do everything don't drop the porcelain, don't drop, but it's okay. Because when we put it back together, it could be more beautiful than you could have ever imagined, to the point where the Japanese saw it as a glorious art form. So what would life be like if we took our brokenness and mended with God's goldenness, right?
Love that.
And then allow ourselves to be, not hide the broken pieces, but allow the brokenness to be part of our beauty. Gosh.
Amen, my sister, amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. You have to be. You know, after John passed, I shattered in a trillion, billion, trillion uncountable pieces. And so I'll always be coming back together. I mean, it doesn't end like I'll be coming together. But hopefully I will be a higher, better version of what I was. I have to be.
Look at all the beautiful things you are doing in His name.
Right. I wouldn't be doing that.
You wouldn't be doing this.
You know, and I have to make good out of it. I am not going to have my son's life in vain. I have to make it better. I cannot be like that person where you see the gray house and the shutters are all gone that needs painting because they lost a child. You know, and I could be there. Oh, in a heartbeat, boom. And there's times I go into that state when I miss him so much. And there's times when I just sob and a wave comes through and you just feel the grief. And to me, that's just like if a wave came through and you started laughing. That's okay. It's when I get into suffering and I get stuck. That's when if I resist something. But now I just sort of more cry and let it out.
And it's okay. There's this song, and I'm not going to remember it correctly. What's the name of the show? The greatest show on earth, where it says, "Here I am," and the music where, you know, she says she wasn't allowed to let her brokenness show, you know, because she was broken, she wasn't good enough. I'm totally paraphrasing the words, but in the song, there's the victory when she decides that here I am, broken, scarred, but here I am.
Love that song.
And that's, I wish. If I could do one thing in life, if I could get people to be okay with the broken parts, to know that that doesn't make them less, it makes them better. And there's no need to run from it. There's no need to hide from it. All we've got to do is grow from it. And if I could some kind of way encourage everybody to embrace their wholeness, then this life would not be in vain.
Right, right. And for me, it always starts with me embracing my wholeness on deeper and deeper levels, and me committing to my own peace on deeper and deeper levels, and in more aspects of my life and my being. Because until I'm that, I can't even be start any movement on it.
And that's the question you asked me about my regimen. That's the whole point of that regimen. Because as a dear friend of mine today, Jenny, shared with me, we were talking about how Jesus wasn't just telling people what to do. Jesus was an example of what to do and what to be. So we talk about what would Jesus do, but we were saying most of us wouldn't even dare do what Jesus would do. But if we could make ourselves that example, there is the movement.
And I think there's a lot of people that are already doing it. There's masses amounts.
Sitting
And
next to it.
That's the great awakening. It's like the field blooms, the flowers all bloom. There's some early bloomers, Jesus and Buddha and God, all those early bloomers, but this is the great awakening. We're all awakening, especially the younger generations. They come in pretty awake, a lot of these children, and they become the evolved species. Yeah.
Definitely.
And so we're going to move on to the message part. I'm going to get centered and check in with John. He's right here. This is his house where, his energy's here. So let's see. I'm just going to get centered and see what he wants to share in our messages part of this Grace on Fire. As we journey through life, we think we're journeying home to a state of peace, deep contentment. But that home is always the closest aspect of your being. You never leave it. You never have. You never can. You never will. You're always your heart. And your heart is your home. It's not a physical heart. It's an eternal heart, an energy field, a powerful soul, wisdom, energy, aliveness, divine magnificence. And it's inside every being, not just humans. This life force, this intelligence, this awareness is inside the flies that look like fairies. The monkeys, the bees, the ferns, the rocks, the dogs and cats, and every human. And when we can be present and wide open to this inner soul power, soul presence, soul identity, Atman, that is fully aware of all lifetimes, past, present, future, all dimensions, present moment awareness of our own conscious awareness. That is our eternal identity. That is the most important. And as Michelle so eloquently stated, it takes a practice, a committed practice, a rubber to the road. If it's a priority, you will spend time. If connecting to your divine self is a priority, you will spend time. If you don't spend time connecting in meditation, whether it's seated, laying down, walking meditation, taking time to be with your own conscious awareness mindfully, If you're not, it's not a priority. What you do with your time and your attention is where you're prioritizing your energy. What you're giving attention to, you will always get more of. One of the most powerful things you can do is exactly what Michelle was moving into in this phase of her spiritual growth and connecting deeper with the divine. Commit to a practice. It can be your practice. It can be at midnight. It could be at 5 in the morning. It could be at noon. It could be a half an hour. It could be 10 minutes. It could be 2 hours. Whatever it is that connects you to your divine, take that time and commit to it every day. And commit to yourself. If it's a priority, give it the time and the attention. Because you are divine, infinite magnificence. It's nothing you need to seek because it's ever present within you. Always and forever. Holy, innocent, and pure. You either shut down and close down to it, and you can experience feeling resentments and anger, or you can open up and feed that wolf of love and not fear, and let the sunshine in, let the light in, let the divine power and presence bask in that dimension, that state, every day. And invite us to take just a minute or two basking in that divine within you, in you as you, the extension of divine source itself. When you stop and pause to bask, you realize you're already in heaven. Heaven is here on earth. It's in that silent stillness. It's that state, ever present. Nothing can threaten it. And yes, everything, even the most giant pyramids, are small acts, small bricks stacked one upon the other. Don't miss out on the small precious moments that are life. Reaching for fantasies in the future. Be here now and enjoy life as it arises and all the small beauties of it. The precious moments, the real nectar, the eternal beauty and grace. Thank you for being here at this tea party for this Grace on Fire with our beautiful Michelle Boykin. Love you so much. Thank you for all that you shared. So grateful and so appreciative. And please check out, do you have a website you can share?
I do not.
Okay, well,
I don't have any way
Yogut,
except through you.
Yogut. We'll get it out. We'll get it
Except through
marketed.
you.
Look for Yogut. Her Yogut. Thank you. Wishing you a most beautiful and blessed day. Namaste.
Thank you.